Everybody ready? To start my speech today, I'd like to ask you some questions. What would you do if you won the lottery? Would you go on a round-the-world trip? Would you pay off your student loans or your mortgage on your house? Would you tell anyone, or would you keep it a secret? Do you think that winning the lottery would make you happy? I'm going to come back to that question. But these are just some of the questions that lottery winners are faced with. But what most of us don't realise is that when we buy a lottery ticket, there's an enormous strain that's put on a person if they actually win the cash. If I won the lottery, that's a phrase that we hear all the time. And I'll admit it, every time I buy a scratch card or a lottery ticket, I take a moment to indulge my imagination, considering how I would spend my newfound fortune. I think that if, let's go with when, but probably if I won the lottery, I'd probably try to invest it wisely with things like property, so that I wouldn't have financial concerns later on. I definitely wouldn't stop working as an interpreter. After all, that's my dream, and money can't buy that. I'd probably give money to the Motor Neurone Disease Association, as it's close to my heart because my granddad died from the disease. But these questions that I asked you to begin with didn't seem to trouble the UK's youngest ever Euromillions winner. Jane Park, who is Scottish, won when she was just 17. It's actually the legal age to buy a lottery ticket in the UK. She won just 4 years ago, and because she was 17, she couldn't even celebrate with a glass of champagne. She had to have a glass of that infamous Scottish drink, Iron Brew, instead. That's that bitter orange fizzy drink which most people hate. On the day that Jane won £1 million, she was over the moon. But she now claims that it was the worst day of her life. In fact, apparently splashing out on designer handbags, fancy holidays, and 2 luxury homes was so distressful for her that guess what? She's now suing Euromillions for more money. Jane's story is frankly ridiculous, but true. However, it does bring up some questions about the mental health of a lottery winner. What really happens when you win big? Well, when a person wins the lottery, they get to meet with financial advisors, and these financial advisors help them decide what is best for them. But no one gets help with their mental health. Other lottery winners have explained how it can be a massive burden to have this sort of wealth just fall into your lap overnight. For some people, it might seem like a dream come true. All of your problems will be solved, but for many, this is not the case. The question I really want to answer with this speech today is one of those I asked you right at the beginning. Does winning the lottery make you happy? Of course, I'm not the first person to want the answer to this question. A very famous study was published back in 1978. Researchers interviewed people who had won the Illinois State Lottery in America. They compared the winners with non-winners and with people who had suffered a terrible accident that had left them either paraplegic or quadriplegic, handicapped essentially, rather disabled. Each group answered a series of questions that tried to measure how happy the people were. And this study found that the overall happiness levels of lottery winners spiked when they won. But after just a few months of winning, they were back to their pre-winning level of happiness. In terms of overall happiness in general, the lottery winners were not significantly happier than people who didn't win. The people who had had accidents were slightly less happy after their accidents, but not by much after time had gone by. This study showed that most people have a set level of happiness, and that even after life-changing events, after some time, people return to their set level of happiness. However, some studies do suggest that you can be happier if you win the lottery. In 2006, a British study in the Journal of Health Economics found that the UK lottery winners go on to demonstrate significantly better psychological health. I don't think that's the case for Miss Jane Parks. But the study also found that the general mental well-being of winners was vastly improved. So you've won all your money, but are you actually going to keep it for a long time? Well, many people fail to hold on to their wealth. In the UK, people spend half of their winnings in the first 5 years after they win. And 70% of winners end up bankrupt within 7 years. There are, of course, also horror stories of winners being kidnapped or shot for their money. I think the conclusion from these studies is that sudden wealth is most likely to exaggerate your current situation, but it won't fundamentally change your sense of well-being. If you're unhappy, or you're not good at managing money, and you're surrounded by people you don't trust, winning big will probably make all your problems seem worse. If you already feel fulfilled in your life, you are used to planning your finances carefully, and you have strong, healthy relationships, a lottery win is likely to help you build on those strengths that you already have. Do you remember at the start of my speech I mentioned Jane Park, who is suing Euromillions as she claimed winning ruined her life? Well, she is now working in a fish and chip shop and has the same friends she did before. She's still waiting to see if she'll be successful in her court case, but in my opinion, getting more money isn't going to help her situation. I think that overall, lotteries are a good thing. They give people a sense of hope and can be fun to play, within reason, just like gambling. But perhaps we should look at putting better support in place for people who do win and struggle because of it. So, next time you buy a lottery ticket or a scratch card, you might have a whole new set of questions to ask yourself before you check the winning numbers.